Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott, and Lauren will join us shortly. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time, or before, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube. On the TikTok now and again. Wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find us there. On Instagram as Wilder Show Pod. You can email us here. Of course, it's always nice when you engage on the platform that has algorithmic value. I think I've said that right. But you can also email us here, and that would be podcast@wildershow.com. Now, I've got a lot of pushback from what I said last time, and so I'm going to answer some of that. And, well, we'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, wherever you find your podcasts, you'll find the Wilder Show podcast, and please like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. Had a good time on for Mark Davis yesterday. It's always fun. It's a good environment, great studio. Always love studios, you know? And that's a really good one. That's a really good one. So it was great to be there. All the people were great. Matt on the board, Rhonda running the show. It was great. So thanks. And if you're brand new, if you heard about it there, if you're brand new, welcome to the Wilder Show podcast. A couple of times a week. And we invite you to join us. And we've stacked up more than 150 in the past for you to catch up. And just to let you know what it is. First part is a little more news and current events type stuff, maybe. And, well, I'll just tell you what my 92-year-old mom said the other day. She listened to the podcast, and she said, hey, I really like how you guys do that, because the first part is sort of news and some stuff like that, and the second part is really interesting. Isn't it fun when stuff just like it comes out? I would say it comes out not the way you mean it, but I think it does. I think it comes out it comes out the way you mean it. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes, you know, you have to eat vegetables too. All right. Supreme Court yesterday, several major rulings regarding presidential power. President won one and lost one. He called it a major victory. Overview is the president won, I think, one of the five, lost three of the five, but there was the fifth one is really one that doesn't really impact him at all. But that's the one that really has my attention, and we'll explore that a little bit. First is presidential removal of power. This was the Trump versus Slaughter case, and the question was whether the president has the right to fire anyone at an independent agency at will. Can the president fire officials at independent agencies at will? Yes, he can do that. The FTC commissioner can be fired. Slaughter can be fired. Now, that overturned a 91-year-old precedent about whether a president has the right to do that. So the president sees this rightly as an expanse of his power. That's one. The other case was the case of Lisa Cook. The president fired Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can do the other stuff, but you can't do this. So it was weird. They let one happen, not the other. They ruled it was a 5-4 decision. They said it failed to follow required statutory procedures to remove her. It had to do with charges against her, and they're in process. And she was saying, look, you know, I haven't even had a chance to respond to the charges. So to remove me just because I've been charged seems wrong. And the court agreed that does seem wrong. Another case was the mail-in ballots. This was not really a Trump case. It was an RNC case. Watson versus RNC. It's a Mississippi case. It was a 5-4 ruling. It upheld the Mississippi state law that counts mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day, even if they do not arrive until 5 days later. The president was not happy at all about that. Another one he wasn't happy about. The justices declined to take up the president's appeal of the E. Jean Carroll case, and that cements a $5 million jury verdict against the president in that sexual abuse and defamation lawsuit filed by E. Jean Carroll. Now, the other case is the one that I want to spend a little time on. Now, you got to remember that as a high school kid on a day off from school, I would go down to the Dallas County Courthouse and just sit in a courtroom and watch whatever trial was going on. Total nerd. Still a nerd. So I'm always on SCOTUSblog.com on opinion announcement days like yesterday and, by the way, like today, watching what is happening. The other cases got all the attention, but this is the case that I've found more interesting, and it's Chaudhry versus the United States. You know what a warrant is, right? When police have to go to get a warrant, like a search warrant to tap someone's phone or seize a computer, search a phone, a warrant to put a GPS tracker on someone's car. You have to get a warrant for that. You go before a judge and you say, hey, here's what we know or what we think we know, and here's why we'd like to do this. And the judge will say whether he thinks it's warranted. And if it is, he issues a warrant. And they go do whatever it is that they're asking to be able to do. Tap a phone, track a vehicle, or a person, or whatever. But what is a reverse warrant? Really, that is what is at the heart of this case, the Chaudhry versus the United States. And it was ruled on yesterday. It involves a geofence warrant. A geofence, probably no, but a geofence is setting up a virtual zone or a perimeter of a certain size and capturing the cell phones that are in that area over that time frame of this virtual geofence. Does that make sense? It's used all the time in advertising and other things, but in this case, it was after the fact. So Google was asked to provide location data for cell phone users who were near a particular place during a specific period of time. And the court ruled that law enforcement's use of geofence was, in fact, a search. Okay, here are the details. I think it's fascinating. A man armed with a gun entered a federal credit union outside Richmond, Virginia, gave the teller a note demanding money. He made off with nearly $200,000. But law enforcement didn't have any leads until they served Google with a geofence warrant, which directed the tech company to provide location data for cell phone users who were near the bank at the time of the robbery. The information that Google provided to law enforcement officials came in 3 tranches. First, Google gave law enforcement officials a list of 19 accounts, but without the names attached to those accounts. 19 accounts linked to the devices that were within 150 meters of the bank during the 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after the robbery. The second tranche, based on that list of 19 accounts, the government asked for additional information about 9 accounts that were in the area during a 2-hour period. At a third step, a detective asked for and received the names associated with 3 accounts. See, it's winnowing it down. One of those was this guy, Chaudhry. So the relying on the location data, law enforcement officials obtained another warrant to search 2 residences linked to Chaudhry, where they found almost $100,000 of the stolen cash, a gun, and the demand notes. Don't keep the demand notes, okay? Prosecutors charged Chaudhry with bank robbery. He asked a trial judge to bar prosecutors from using the evidence obtained as a result of the geofence warrant in his trial, arguing that the warrant violated the Fourth Amendment and is actually a search. So the Supreme Court agreed with that point yesterday and ruled that when law enforcement officials used a geofence warrant, a warrant that instructed Google to provide that location data for cell phone users who were in that area for that period of time, ruled that when law enforcement officials used a geofence warrant to obtain evidence used to convict this Virginia man of the 2019 bank robbery, they conducted a search for purposes of the Fourth Amendment. By a vote of 6-3, the justices sent Okello Chaudhry's case back to the lower court to consider whether the search was in fact reasonable. Okay, I know that's a lot of stuff, but you might wonder also, does the guy get out? No, he doesn't get out. Supreme Court explicitly limited the review to a narrow question, the narrow question of simply whether using a geofence warrant constitutes a Fourth Amendment search, but left the existing lower court decisions regarding good faith exemption untouched. So they got to go back and find out if, in fact, it was good faith. So consequently, this guy, Chaudhry, he won this really historic victory for public digital privacy rights, but the ruling provides no path to his getting free. And I bring that up only because it really is, it's a different world, isn't it? That you could, what was that movie, whatever it was, The Bureau of Future Crime, and they could somehow know what you, through the those three precogs, could know, that you were going to do a crime. This is sort of like that, but on the other side, it's already happened. But nobody's going back to get a warrant to say, hey, we think this guy's up to nefarious stuff. We're going to bug the social club and find out if there really is a mafia. It wasn't like that. It was like, you know what? Give me all the phone data of anybody who was anywhere near here. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, that is a search. That is a search. And I think that was the right decision. Today, the big ones, of course, are can states ban trans in high school and college athletics? The other is the birthright citizenship case. And I think the president's going to lose this one. And both will be decided today. We mentioned email. If you write us email at podcast@wildershow.com, we promise to read it. We promise to respond, which I did. Now, I'm going to read this. I'm not going to out somebody. I don't dox anybody. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm simply going to read what the person wrote, and then I'm going to read. I'm not going to say what their name is. I'm not going to mention their gender. But I read it not to sort of gin up interest in, my position, but because honestly, I think this is a position a lot of people have, and I would like to respond to it if that's okay. So I hope whoever wrote this is not going to be offended by this. Honestly, they probably should be very happy because I'm actually reading some really horrible things about myself. So on the radio, when people would call and be rude to me, I would always say, I'm really complimented that you feel you know me well enough to be that rude. So it's actually good. So I don't mind it. It's okay. It's okay. I don't, I had people even yesterday for Mark Davis, and of course last time for Mark Davis, they text in, you are an idiot. And that's okay. It doesn't bother me. I'd rather have a conversation about it. I don't know how much research they have to do to come up with that one sentence, but sometimes people write a lot of stuff, and I'd rather have a real conversation where at the very least you can feel like, people are really, that's really what they're thinking right now. If I say, what about this? They go, oh, yes, or whatever. They don't have an answer. You got a moment of pause, and you see, oh, I guess they don't really know. But emails and stuff, you just hammer it out and, lob it over the fence and then run. All right, so I'm going to read the actual note first because I think that's the fairest. We'll call this person M. Okay, M is this person. Scott, I used to really respect your opinion on things. It's a shaky start. And I won't comment throughout this, but that is a shaky start. Scott, I used to really respect your opinion on things. I was grateful to find your podcast because I've been missing hearing you on the radio. But since I've been listening, I've discovered that your deep, deep hatred for Donald Trump has blinded you to common sense. You were just talking about how Iran wants a nuclear weapon to use as a shield against America attacking them. That's absolutely ridiculous. First of all, America would never attack anyone with a nuclear weapon without absolute due cause. Second, Iran is a Muslim country with radical Islamists who want to bring about the end of the world. They think if they can accelerate that, it's better for them. They have great incentive to get the weapon because they want to bring about the end of the world. They are not reasonable. They are not afraid to die. They have no self-preservation instinct. Their twisted religion makes them think it's an honor to die in the process of killing as many others as possible. I'm really concerned for your thought process. Maybe I should question your opinion on other topics. Okay. Let me dab my eyes for a sec. No, I don't mind it. M, thanks. Thanks for the thing. And so I will read back to you. This would be my response to you if you have. And maybe you have thought these very same things. I'm not making fun of that. I got it. Let me explain, though, if I could. And you can determine whether the explanation is is valid or not. You may dismiss it entirely, and that's okay. Here's what I wrote back. I said, wow, I appreciate the honesty. I'm always complimented that anyone would take the time to write and to be so honest, so thank you. I might have to take a minute to unpack this since you are someone who offers a long form. I would guess that you will appreciate that. Let me start with some overview thoughts. Iran should never get a nuclear weapon. They are a radical theocracy, and therefore they could never become a true democracy government that respects a minority position. Again, Iran should never get a nuclear weapon. Even more, I don't want any country to be added to the 9 that currently have those weapons, although 90% of those are in the U.S. and Russia. I understood when I dropped that last clip from the podcast that the main point would be misunderstood. My point was not that Iran should get a nuclear weapon. It wasn't even about what they would do or wouldn't do if they got it. The main point was that it's easy to say that's why we're going to war, but there just might be something that is not a literal nuke, but something that can nuke the entire world in a different way without Iran being at risk of a nuclear response. There could be another kind of weapon that could have an impact on the whole world. And I believe that is Iran gaining the Strait of Hormuz to extract tolls and then on occasion shut it down and hold the world hostage. If we were actually to be having a conversation, it might be more productive. Good news for you is I will be filling in for Mark Davis tomorrow morning from 7 to 10 a.m., and you can lay out all your thoughts. We'll have time to have you share your thoughts. We can actually have a conversation. But in the event that you don't want to do that, I will address some of this. So I go through his thing. Scott, I used to really respect your opinion. I was grateful to find your podcast. I said, hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Then he writes, but I've discovered that your deep, deep hatred for Donald Trump has blinded you to common sense. Here's how I responded to that. I don't hate him. I voted for him 3 times. I just disagree with him on some things. Not everything, some things. We used to live in a world where you could do that without it being called hate, and then have everything else you believe about anything be dismissed. My question to you is, what is the evidence that, though I have voted for him 3 times, I have a, quote, deep, deep hate for Donald Trump? That'd be a weird way to feel about someone you voted for 3 times, but I'm open to your answer. What is the evidence of hate? Not disagreement. You said hate. Then he writes, first of all, America would never attack anyone with a nuclear weapon without absolute cause. I said I completely agree, as has been the case for the other 8 countries that have developed nuclear weapons. Only we have used them twice, necessary to end World War II. So not sure what we disagree about there. My point was not that we would do that. My point is that there are countries who want a defense against that possibility of being attacked with a nuclear weapon to make it less likely. Russia knows we won't do that. China knows we won't do that. Their belief that we won't is enhanced by their having the weapons that would result in mutually assured destruction. In part, they are confident we won't do it because then they would do it in kind, and so we don't. And they're protected from that. I don't think Iran is nervous that America will use nuclear weapons against them. I believe they want a defensive confidence against Israel. Then he writes, second, Iran is a Muslim country, radical Islamist, want to bring the end of the world. They are not reasonable. They're not afraid to die. They have no self-preservation instinct. And so I write, there is much in here I agree with. I do believe even the craziest, most Muslim countries have some self-preservation. I would direct your attention to a Muslim country that is already nuclear. Pakistan is 96% Muslim, and they have had nukes for almost 30 years. That's some self-preservation there. Then he writes, I'm really concerned about your thought process. Maybe I should question your opinion on other topics. And I said, I understand. Maybe you're right. Maybe if my reasoning has me disagreeing with the president's position on this one thing, it means that maybe I might be wrong about Jesus and God's design for human sexuality and life beginning at conception and strong borders and personal responsibility and strong military and lower taxes and no men and women's sports and a conservative majority on the Supreme Court and so much more. Maybe I'm wrong about all those things, all because I have a different opinion on an element of this war. I would conclude where we started. I don't hate the president. I disagree with them on a few things. I'm old enough to remember a world where we could still do that. They had titled the email TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome Code. That's all it said was TDS. To Scott, subject TDS. So I conclude, I do believe TDS exists. We likely would disagree on who suffers from it. Some people can only listen to those who tell them they are right about everything and never challenge anything. I think those people are lesser than they could be. The algorithm generation that we're getting is evidence that that is true. Just more and more of whatever you already are, never a challenge, never a chance to develop the ability to influence anyone who disagrees. Just surround ourselves with people who tell us we're right. Tribalism is America's greatest threat, the inability to disagree or have a conversation without demonizing the other side. I am not demonizing you. Thank you for your thoughts, Scott. Oh, it is time for Scattershoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show Scattershoot. All right. I know a lot of people skip right through everything else and come straight here.
I don't think that's true.
At least based on
the comments you get.
Yeah.
I think here's what
Which is fine. That's okay with me.
This is what I think.
Yep.
I think that people listen to they're interested in the news stuff. You know, the things that you are pretty much in charge of because it's so far above my.
No, it's not true.
I was going to say my pay grade. It has nothing to do with that. It's my mental level.
Yeah.
But I think they just maybe don't feel as it's easier to comment on
that's true.
the lighter stuff than it is on the news of the day.
Everybody knows that they love fries.
Everybody, yeah, that's exactly right.
but
that's something we can all get behind.
That's what makes the Wilder Show podcast so, I'll say good, but so much what we want it to be.
That we all love fries?
No, there's some stuff over here and some stuff over there. It's like the Today section and the news section. It's the purple section in USA Today and the blue section.
That's right.
And that's such is life.
I used to love my purple section.
All the different colors. Anyway, welcome to Wilder Show Scattershoot.
What a segue that is. Speaking of colors, you didn't even know that I was going straight into this.
What's that?
How do you feel about, like, when you eat your M&Ms?
Yeah.
Do you have colors that you prefer, or are you at all, are you a little bit crazy in the way you eat them? Do you separate the colors and eat this color first or that color first, or you just, for me, and I mean, I know I'm asking you, but I'll tell you, I mean, I just pour a handful, into the palm of my hand
and eat them all
put them
once,
all in my
mixed
mouth.
together.
I don't care. I don't care what color they are. I love them all equally.
Well, for me, first of all, I'm going to talk about peanut M&Ms.
Okay.
I'm not really a big fan of just the normal M&Ms.
I love the normal M&Ms, just the regular M&Ms.
Yeah.
Those are probably my favorite.
The normals?
I do like the normies, but I do like or the originals. The originals, maybe.
Yeah.
I like the peanut M&Ms, but then after that,
all the other ones,
peanut
caramels,
butter and
whatever,
all that, not so much.
Almond,
a little bit more of an M&M purist.
That's right. For me, it's either plain or it's peanut, and that's it. But you're asking about colors.
Yeah.
Unlike jelly beans, the colors don't really matter. That's just a color.
That's true.
There is no taste.
There's no
difference.
flavor.
So the whole thing about brown M&Ms or no green M&Ms or only green M&Ms or all that backstage rock star writers on contracts, all that kind of stuff doesn't matter. But how do I eat them? This will sound really weird. First of all, I will eat some. Because we've been together and you've had an M&M. I said, just give me two. And it really just
that's the first thing that I just can't. There are so many things about you that are just I can't understand.
Yeah.
Well, it is a little irritating, but I can't get to that headspace where two M&Ms would be okay.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you the peanut real quick. I would actually take the peanut M&M, put it in my mouth, bite halfway down to the peanut, sort of peel it away and eat
much that, more than I even expected, but
Believe
it's really
me,
good.
You shouldn't have asked.
Go ahead.
Then eat that part, and then actually the peanut becomes even 50% more of what is left of what I actually will eat.
Okay.
In other words, if I could, I would take all of the chocolate off first and then have all, but that's not really fun because if you want that, you'd have chocolate and then separately peanut. If you want them together, just realizing how ridiculous this is.
This is so deep.
So I take the peanut M&M, put it in, lengthwise, and then sort of
the
take off.
direction even matters.
Well, it does because you don't want the peanut to split, which it could if you go the sideways. So you have to go in the way where it won't, where you're not getting the seam of the peanut
splits, do you have to like spit it out and start over again with a new one?
No, but it's disappointing. Because you have a goal, you only have 2 M&Ms. So if you fail with one, that's 50% failure. But that's the way. But colors, I don't really care because they all taste the same.
Yeah.
If it was a taste difference, then maybe. But they're all the same. It's just a matter of colors. So I don't know.
A couple of M&M colors are getting the axe. You will see them no more. Yeah. Do you remember a while back, maybe a year or so ago, when we talked about how the FDA was having to change the way the way they use artificial dyes and things like this? The manufacturer, Mars Candies, they've been experimenting with natural dyes to try to replicate, what we've had for all of these years. And it turns out that they've been able to do that with a bunch of the majority of the colors. But there are 2 of those colors that they've tried a bunch of things, and they actually say the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Orange
it just costs
and red.
too much. No.
Really?
No, you want to take one more guess? 2 more guesses?
Well, see, if it's not orange and red, that means the red dye is not a problem.
No, they found a way to recreate that.
So, but the other, then it's got to be some combination, looking at primary colors, which we know are yellow, blue, and red.
Yeah.
If they've solved the red, that means they've solved the red and the orange. If they've solved, so that could mean it leaves us with blue and green if it's a blue problem, or yellow and green if it's a yellow problem. I'm going to guess.
You're kind of on the right track.
Okay, just tell me.
Blue and brown.
Both of those colors take blue. So their problem was with the blue, but that's amazing that they could have blue go away, but not green. Green is a combination of yellow and blue.
Yeah, a red, green, yellow, and orange live to fight another day and fill our bags from now on. But there's spirulina is something that they tried to use for the blue, but it's a lot. And you've seen spirulina in like in a lot of green juices and things like that. You'll see spirulina in that.
I don't know what that is.
But it's much more expensive than the synthetic dye that was used for the blue before. And so they're just not. I mean, do we really want to pay? Do we want to pay $5 a bag for M&Ms?
No.
I mean, I guess that's a possibility. But nobody's going to do that.
So
maybe some people would do that. I would not do that.
As a marketing thing, I would look for them to also introduce 2 new colors. In the process of trying to save those other colors, they've been able to find something that tempers the blow a little bit.
Look at you, the little marketer.
Hey, there you go. It's almost like that was my entire college education.
Maybe
which I never used.
Maybe it's coming soon.
There you go.
Well, you heard it here first.
3.0.
Ever heard of mental subtraction?
Mental subtraction.
It's not, and it's not really the first thing that might come to your mind is like math, like mental math. But that's not. This is something else. It's not. Math.
It sounds like it'd be something to, like the way we want to live simply. If you would just take some of the things that you don't need to be spending your time thinking about, you could actually get addition by subtraction. You could get
sort of.
Yeah.
It's a way to change your attitude about something that is giving you grief.
Okay.
For instance, if you say you are having a really hard day at work, you're really upset about your job, your boss, your whatever. Mental subtraction is to imagine that you wake up tomorrow morning and you no longer have your job.
Well, sure.
Job
things
goes
could
away.
always be worse.
Yeah. You got to think about all of the other things that your job provides for you that are on the positive side.
That's healthy.
This is actually, this comes from a clinical psychologist in Los Angeles. And she says that whenever one of her clients starts complaining, she's actually talking about the job is the first example she gave. She said she cuts him off mid-rant, which is not something you usually, I mean, maybe I've not spent enough time with clinical psychologists. Usually, I mean, the way I think about this is that you kind of let the rant go.
Maybe she's had enough.
But maybe she has.
I've heard this 1,000 times.
Complains about his job every time.
Stop right now and just think about what your life would be like if you.
Yeah, she says, well, she tells them what would happen if you woke up tomorrow. I kind of like this, though. I mean, if you know where it's going, cut it off before all of the negative stuff even comes out, and ask the question, what would happen if you woke up tomorrow and received a letter that your services were no longer needed?
Yeah.
And she said in most cases, you see their face change immediately. You will be interested to know that this technique has a cinematic origin. Can you think of what it might be? It's one of your favorite movies.
Cinematic origin.
I think it's one of your favorite movies of all time.
Oh, man. Let's see. It's not Michael Clayton.
No.
It's not
Think
The
black
Godfather.
and white. Think a long time ago.
Oh, it's A Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes, when George Bailey is shown how much worse off everyone would be if he'd never been born. I actually tried this yesterday. I was vacuuming last night. I have a small house and I have one dog. And it had been a little while since I vacuumed, but it took such a long time. And I'm like moving furniture and vacuuming under tables and seeing these gigantic piles of hair in places, thinking, how could it possibly have even gotten there? And this occurred to me, and I thought, well, I don't want to not have Charlie.
Right.
And my life would be so much less. Without Charlie, I would miss so much about him. And it really did. It changed my attitude. If really all I have to do, I mean, I have to do a lot more for him than just vacuum up after him. But in this instance, it was the vacuuming. And I mean, I got kind of deep on it. I was thinking if he wasn't here, I would still have to vacuum. I still, there are still things that need to be cleaned up. And I don't want to blame all of this on him. I don't want to besmirch him even at all. And it really kind of turned it around for me.
That would be cool if it could work like that for people.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I know what you mean. This is most successful. This is most successful when you do it, like when you catch yourself complaining, like immediately when you catch yourself complaining. The other really cool thing about it is it doesn't require an app. You don't need a journal. You don't need a special set, a place where you go in your home to do this. I mean, just 1 minute and a little bit of imagination, and you've got the mental subtraction. Then the trick, they say, is to really imagine the absence of this thing rather than just admire what's there. So instead of immediately jumping to like what some of the good things are about your job and the thing, you miss, if your job went away, you miss the, the free parking in the parking garage, and you'd miss the free lunch on Friday. But to really sit for a minute, and what would it mean if you didn't have your job? And of course, the list of those important things would be, that you start to see your little gripes are far less important. And then also the important thing is about this, try not to just feel better about it for a minute,
Appreciate it.
Exactly. Yeah. Be grateful for what you have and try to carry that feeling with you beyond just that 1 minute in time.
I know we've talked about this before, but one of the things when the kids were little, one of the things that I really wanted to either inspire, or I don't think it's something you can teach, but maybe you can model it. Yeah. Is I wanted to have kids that were appreciative, that were not always looking to the next thing. Yeah. But that they really appreciated the way things are. Now, could things be better? Of course. Yeah. They can always be better. But if you're always looking at the next thing, or the next job, or the next whatever, you're not really appreciating sort of the thing
where
you have.
Are,
where
what
you are.
Have. Yeah.
Be where you are.
And
enjoy that and appreciate that. And I think that cuts down on a lot of the covetousness and all the different things, not to use too biblical a word, but I mean, all the stuff where it's, the grass is always greener and all that kind of stuff. If you can really appreciate this is mine, this is us, this is ours, this is good.
It's funny you should mention that, though, because you're absolutely right about that. And it didn't even really occur to me when I was thinking all of this through about this mental subtraction. That this kind of thing might be better coming from a counselor than it would be coming from a parent to
sure.
a kid.
Yeah.
Because I do find myself, and I think we've talked about this before too, as your age advances and you start to get a little bit of perspective on things that you might not have had when you were a younger person,
Sure.
because you see the propensity for things to either work out better than you thought they would, or when they don't, you can see in your rearview mirror how you got through it anyway, and the skills that you learned from getting through it, and how how those things either make you stronger or build your faith, or depending on what the circumstance was. But when I'm talking to my adult kids, and they do have something like this that they are struggling with, or want to vent about, I do have to be really careful not to try to wrap it up and tie it with a bow, in a, like, say, well, just do this, just imagine that thing was gone in this particular case. Because I think that's why I was surprised at the very beginning of that, when that clinical psychologist said she cuts him off mid-rant. I think that is something better coming from a counselor than it might be coming from a family member, or, especially a parent who says, I don't even want to hear it. Just imagine not having that job. That might not be what, somebody who comes to you to vent wants to hear.
And I think when as we advance in age and experience and wisdom and all those things, in theory, those things go together. I think I've always sort of, even when I was younger and raising the kids, I always felt like things are a trade-off. I mean, if there's this, sometimes it means there's not that. If there is this, and it may be tough, there are lessons that come from that.
Yeah.
That if that is not part of your experience, you don't learn those lessons.
Yeah.
There are some lessons you only learn if you have to learn them. You don't just say, hey, today I'm just going to do this thing that I don't have to do to learn the lesson that would be nice for me to know and invaluable perhaps as I get older, but there's no reason for me to. I'm just going to learn it. That's usually not the way things work.
Yeah.
You usually learn the lessons that you need to learn, or you don't need to learn them, and so you don't. And later it's like, man, that would have been good to develop that trait.
If you had to guess, well, you may know this already. What's your 1 minute mile? What's your speed?
Like to run a mile?
No, walk.
Just to walk?
Walk.
Well, I think the average human speed for a mile is...
Is there an average human speed for a mile?
Yeah, it's 3 miles an hour. 3 miles an hour is the average speed. If you told me you walked somewhere...
You mean that's somebody who's just sauntering?
I don't think sauntering. If you walked, if you got on a treadmill and you set it as 3 miles an hour, it wouldn't be sauntering, but it is not walking fast. I would say when I've been on a treadmill before, I would say, if you're just walking, you're not jogging, right?
Just walking.
5 or 6 miles an hour walking is about as fast as I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but if you told me you walked somewhere that was, say, 3 miles away, a little more than 3 miles away, I would say you walked the whole way to that place? Yes. And you walked the whole way back? Yes. Okay, so it took you about a little more than 2 hours, and that probably would be accurate.
Tell me again the length, the
3 miles. That's at 3 miles an hour. The average speed people walk is about 3 miles an hour, and so if you told me you walked somewhere 3 miles away and you walked there and walked back, I would guess that it took you about 2 hours.
Okay, I think you're not necessarily going to get a whole lot of health benefit from that kind of walking. What I'm looking at, what I'm looking at is what should your pace be if you want to reap the health and the cognitive benefits of walking.
It's about walking, not running. I would
running, just walking.
I would say double the average, probably 6 miles an hour.
Let's look at it by age. Okay. In your 20s and 30s, you should be able to walk a mile in 13 to 15 minutes. And that is a pace, that's a brisk pace, about 4.6 miles an hour.
Okay. So when you're young, the answer is 4.6 miles an hour.
Yes.
So that would be a brisk pace of 4.6, which means 3 is not sauntering, it's just slower.
Yeah, but when you're in your 60s, which is where we are, we should be able to walk a mile in 16 to 18 minutes. That's 3.3 to 3.7 miles per hour. So that is still a little bit quicker, even at our age, right?
Yes.
In your 40s, you should be able to walk a mile in 14 to 16 minutes. That's a pace of about 4.3 miles per hour. And this pace should have you huffing and puffing just a little bit, but still allowing a conversation.
Okay.
So you have to be walking. As long as you're not, unless you're comfortable talking to yourself, which I know some of us probably are. But you got to be walking with someone.
Interesting. Okay.
So do you think that you do that? Do you think you're able to do that? I was kind of surprised by this. I walk a lot and I can walk a 16 to 18 minute mile. I don't necessarily, though, when I'm just let's not talk about dog walks because he's a little bit of a slowpoke and he likes to sniff a little bit more than I do. But if I'm walking by myself, a 16 to 18 minute mile is a pretty brisk pace.
When I did treadmill and bike, I would do 30 minutes on one and 30 minutes on the other. And 2 miles walking, if I can get that done. And then more than that, riding, maybe 5 miles on the bike, 5 miles in 30 minutes, which is 10 miles an hour, which is not that big, depending on your, the resistance, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
But that would be 4 miles an hour. So 4 miles an hour, 2 miles at 4 miles an hour.
And when were you doing this?
About half a century ago.
No,
no, it wasn't that long. It wasn't that long ago. It was in my
let's go back to
probably in my 30s.
Okay, let's go back
40s.
to in your 20s and 30s, you should be able to walk a mile in 13 to 15
That's right.
minutes.
There you go. That's it.
That's a brisk pace of about 4.6 miles per hour.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was it. So I was able to do that, and then I would do but it tuckered me out a bit, and then I would get
in
on
a good way though, right?
Then I would get on the bike where I could sit, and that was nice.
Yeah.
And then I could do that longer, just do legs.
Well, another thing to watch is to make sure that your pace doesn't change a lot in a brief period of time. That could signal a health issue. If you're able to, if all of a sudden your pace changes and you're not able to walk as fast or for as long a period of time as you were because breathing issues or whatever, that's something that you should check out with your doctor. But apparently, the slower that you walk at midlife, so we're a little bit past that already, the faster your body ages. The slowest walkers, under 3 miles per hour, showed the fastest rate of biological decline, while the fastest walkers aged more slowly. So your walking speed does appear to predict how quickly the body is deteriorating on a cellular level. I get no joy from even saying those words, but our bodies, of course, are deteriorating on a cellular level. So if you want to get that walking speed up a little bit, especially if you're still one of the lucky ones who's still in midlife and not on the upper end of that, that's something to take a look at.
Yeah. Okay. That is a Wilder Show podcast. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays, Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, on the TikTok now and again, on Instagram as Wilder Show Pod. And our email, if you want to email us here, is podcast@wildershow.com. Or just engage us wherever you listen at those platforms. Give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us a question, maybe a Q&A at some point from the mailbag. So any of that's fine. Wherever you get your podcast, would you like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share? And Lauren, thank you.
You bet.
And we'll see you next time. Do